was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
Rand Paul and Nicole Malliotakis erupted in a fiery confrontation with Omar, holding her accountable for her past controversial statements, including her infamous remarks about 9/11. The exchange was explosive, emotional, and unforgettable as both lawmakers stood firm for American values, patriotism, and truth.
I'm in a town where we have a lot of people who are refugees who have come, some from Somalia, some from Bosnia. I've never heard one of them say that America's a terrible place or be unappreciative of our country. Most of them are thankful. I've met people who have come here from behind the Iron Curtain that got away from communism. They're some of the best Americans we have because they really appreciate how great our country is. And then I hear Representative Omar say, "Oh, America's a terrible place. I'd love there to be justice, and there's no justice here." It's like, well, she came here and we fed her, we clothed her, she got welfare, she got school, she got health care, and then lo and behold, she has the honor of actually winning a seat in Congress, and she says we're a terrible country. I think that's about as ungrateful as you can get. And so while I'm not saying we forcibly send her anywhere, I'm willing to contribute to buy her a ticket to go visit Somalia. And I think she could look and maybe learn a little bit about the disaster that is Somalia, that has no capitalism, has no God-given rights guaranteed in a constitution, and has about 7 different tribes that have been fighting each other for the last 40 years. And then maybe after she's visited Somalia for a while, she might come back and appreciate it.
Maliotakis.
The gentlewoman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard from my colleagues the reasons why the Representative Omar should be removed from this committee, but I feel like all the reasons have not just yet been stated, which is why I rise to add for the record. We've heard about the comments that were made regarding anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli views, but I rise to add to the record that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I've sat there and heard the representative actually spew anti-American rhetoric as well. I've been in that committee room where the representative equates Israel and the United States to Hamas and the Taliban. Absolutely unacceptable for a member of that committee. I've also heard the representative equate that it is the United States' fault that there is turmoil in Venezuela. That is not because of the oppressive socialist and communism that has spread throughout Central and South America and Venezuela at the hands of the Maduro and Hugo Chavez regimes. That is unacceptable. And as a New York representative, to hear the representative belittle, to try to diminish the worst terrorist attack on United States soil on September 11, 2001, as some people did something, that is unacceptable as well. And I hold the same standard for this side of the aisle that I do the other, because when another colleague on my side said something about 9/11, I also voted to have her removed from the Education Committee because I thought that was inappropriate. So I'm being consistent here, and I hope my colleagues will do the same to show that this is about consistency and accountability, because we should not have an individual with those views on the committee that is tasked with representing our country and our Congress to foreign nations. I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back.
Rand Paul and Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis exploded at Omar in what can only be described as one of the most intense congressional confrontations in recent memory. This wasn't just another hearing, this was a reckoning, a direct challenge to a lawmaker whose words have repeatedly sparked outrage across America. Senator Rand Paul began by cutting right to the core. With his usual sharp precision, he reminded Omar of her long history of inflammatory statements. He didn't sugarcoat it. He pointed directly to her infamous remark about the September 11th attacks, where she said, "Some people did something." Paul paused, letting the words linger in the room, and then thundered. "Some people did something?" That was the deadliest terrorist attack on American soil, carried out by enemies who sought to destroy our way of life. Thousands of our fellow citizens died. And you reduce it to "some people did something"? Do you even understand the magnitude of those words? The chamber fell silent. You could feel the weight of the moment. Omar tried to deflect, saying her comments were taken out of context, but Paul refused to let her escape accountability. He pressed harder. Context doesn't change the fact that you belittled the tragedy of 9/11. Context doesn't bring back the mothers, fathers, firefighters, and police officers who gave their lives that day. Context doesn't erase the pain your words caused to Americans who still grieve. What you said is an insult to every patriot in this country. Before Omar could retreat into vague defenses, Nicole Malliotakis seized her moment. As a representative from New York, a city forever scarred by the attacks, her voice carried both authority and passion. She leaned forward and declared, "I was there. My city still carries the scars. My community still mourns the lives lost. How dare you minimize what we went through? How dare you dismiss the bravery of the firefighters and police officers who ran into burning towers? For you to sit here in Congress, enjoying the freedoms and protections this nation gives you, while speaking words that spit on the sacrifices of our heroes, is beyond disgraceful." The atmosphere grew fiery. Omar attempted to argue that she was being unfairly targeted because of who she is, but Maliotakis shut that down instantly. "No, Congresswoman. This isn't about identity. This is about your words, your record, and your repeated choice to side with rhetoric that undermines America. Don't play the victim here. The true victims are the thousands who perished on September 11th, the soldiers who fought overseas to keep our homeland safe, and the families who still bear the grief of their loss. They're the ones you disrespected." Paul returned to the offensive, broadening the scope beyond just 9/11. He listed Omar's past remarks about Israel, her accusations against the U.S. military, and her pattern of rhetoric that often mirrors America's adversaries rather than her own country. "Congresswoman Omar," Paul said firmly, "time and again your words fall on the wrong side of history. Instead of standing with the United States, you give comfort to radicals and extremists. Instead of standing with Israel, one of our strongest allies, you've aligned yourself with those who seek its destruction. This isn't just careless, it's dangerous." Maliotakis doubled down, almost delivering a closing argument. "You don't get to sit in the people's house and undermine the very nation that gave you refuge, freedom, and opportunity. Every time you dismiss America's pain, every time you attack the values that hold this country together, you reveal exactly where your loyalties lie, and it's not with the American people. If you cannot respect the sacrifices made to protect this nation, then you don't deserve the honor of representing it." Omar looked cornered. She tried to respond, but the momentum was gone. The truth was laid bare. The more she spoke, the more unconvincing she sounded. Paul and Maliotakis had united in their purpose, to expose her words for what they truly were, an affront to America's values, its history, and its people. For millions of Americans watching, this wasn't just another heated exchange in Congress. It was a reminder that there are still leaders willing to speak the truth, to confront dangerous rhetoric, and to stand unapologetically for the ideals that define this country. Paul and Maliotakis weren't afraid to say what so many Americans have been thinking for years. Enough is enough. This was not politics as usual. This was a direct call for accountability, for respect, and for patriotism. It was a message to Ilhan Omar and anyone else who dares to belittle America's pain, that the American people will not forget, and they will not be silenced.